Hello, today we're going to be talking about how I used the CRA method of instruction to build foundational math knowledge in summer school. So the situation at my school at Concord Elementary was that students in SPED were scoring disproportionately lower than their Gen Ed counterparts. What I focused on here was the instructional resources and human resources, where students traditionally at Concord in the past had limited hands-on resources to work with. And then even when there were resources in the classroom, they were usually up in the closet or they're even just in the math and reading room where students weren't using them. So what I want to do is increase access to manipulatives and then also teach the students how to use them, because it's not enough to just give somebody a tool, but you need to use them, show them how to use it effectively. So we also have no adopted math curriculum at our school. We do have supplementary materials. One is Bridges, which is great, but it is not Virginia aligned. So there's a little bit of working around to do there. Bridges was excellent, though, we found in summer school to use for the CRA model, because they are using a lot of that as well. So we were able to pretty much just take their pre-assessments, post-assessments for summer school and use those directly. We didn't really have to tweak those much at all to stick to our standards for Virginia, and also to effectively use the CRA method of instruction. They do, just right in the pre-assessment, they have a lot of concrete representational that leads to abstract throughout the pre and post assessment, and it kind of flows very nicely. So that was awesome. So we move on to our background. Our improvement aim, our wider improvement aim, was for fourth grade students with disabilities to improve their math knowledge, to reflect an increase in the current pass rate of 28% in the fourth grade SPED population to 58% by June 2024. Our smaller target aim was just to take, for summer schools, to take our pre-assessment data and improve on it for the post-assessment, which all students ended up doing. Our action through our 4 PDSA cycles. Our first cycle just led us through planning and meeting time. So that was just me sitting down with Tiffany Goff, our fourth grade teacher who decided to do summer school, and just me as an admin, and us sitting down for frequent meetings throughout, but also just to start cycle 1. That was our whole cycle 1, was just to plan and meet about to set up to go through the pre-assessment together, to go through the lesson plans together, and then just also to kind of give her a brief crash course instruction training on what the CRA model was and how to use the CRA sequence model of instruction to teach effectively. She hadn't taught math for, I think she said, 12 years. So she had been predominantly a reading teacher, which is also exciting though, because this year, for this school year, for 23-24, we are ending departmentalization in fourth grade. So that kind of just gave her a nice little dipping her feet into the water for math for this coming school year. And then I'll be able to assist her too as her team lead for fourth grade, and helping her continue on the CRA model of instruction when it's appropriate. And cycle 1, I also met with the principal just to kind of run the idea by her, make sure it's okay to do in summer school, and she gave the full approval, and she wanted to hear back as well, which I did. Hear back with her at the end of summer school how it went. The PDSA cycle 2 was using the CRA sequence of instruction, which is kind of just using the concrete and the representational and the abstract all in isolation, and just kind of teaching them separate lessons for the first little bit. PDSA cycle 2 kind of revealed to us, after our pre-assessments and using data we had from the previous school year, we thought that we had a good group of 4 students that would have been appropriately grouped together about on the same level. At the beginning of cycle 2, it was apparent that one of these students was much higher in their understanding of foundational math knowledge, and they didn't really need to be in the CRA group as much as the rest. So we did bump them up to a different group, which still used a lot of CRA method of instruction stuff in it up, but just kind of on levels that pushed them a little more. PDSA cycle 3, after reflecting, started to make a rubric, like just each day, just reflecting on what I needed out of students and what they needed to know and the vocabulary they need to be using to effectively understand and be able to reteach the CRA method of instruction when using it for multiplication. And then cycle 4, still continuing to use the CRA sequence modeling, and then having students start to really teach those lessons instead of me teaching them, and then me kind of just going off of the rubric and making sure they're checking off the boxes to really show their understanding at this point. A lot of through these cycles, I thought that we were going to progress a little bit more quickly, but I'm glad that I kind of reflected, and Tiffany Golf reflected as well, and we just kind of slowed down a little bit, and we didn't get through as much of our like our learning steps of learning progression steps as quickly as we thought we would. I feel like students left with a better understanding of foundational math knowledge for multiplication, and that was the whole goal for us. So we felt like we did accomplish that. All right, and then the cycle 4, we talked about too, just wrapping that up too, with them teaching more. Our results, students did gain more valuable math knowledge as they move into 5th grade. They all progressed well with their post-assessment, gaining at least 15 points for each of the 3 students that we ended up with our small group. And also just with our rubric data, they did progress fairly consistently when we used the rubric as well. Result 2, Tiffany Golf and I both learned how to better teach with the CRA model of instruction at a more appropriate pace. And I feel like we also know when to use that CRA model best now, because not all math lends itself well to it. We at least know now to, like, when we're teaching the 4 basic operations of math and getting into bigger numbers to like 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication. And we're certainly going to try that with some like 3-digit by 1-digit division this year too. Just when to use it, how to use it, and an appropriate time and pace to use it. And then result 3 was me as an admin. I learned to delegate my roles more assertively. So I kind of was a pushover with some of the stuff, and I took on more of what I should have, I feel, at times. And throughout this process, I learned to kind of just relax and chill out with that. Recommendations are, I'd like to increase the scale this year with my team at least, and then share it with 5th grade as well, and share down to 3rd grade as well, to see if they're interested in this model of instruction, if they're not already using it. Recommendation 2 is to simplify the rubric. I think it got a little bit long towards the end, and maybe just chop it up into 2 separate rubrics or even 3 as we progress through our learning. And just look for certain components each day instead of looking for all of them. I think it became difficult for the teacher, and it wouldn't be something that I should ask a teacher to do realistically if I roll this out on a greater scale. Number 3 was to create units of learning. So just really, instead of just saying, hey, this is what I learned to my team and to the rest of the school, really kind of refine some of this, which leads me to number 4. Refine some of this and share it out. So before just sharing out, I'd like to kind of really develop some lesson plans and complete units with this for like maybe grades 3 through 5 first, and then work my way down if it's more of a success from there. All right, these are my recommendations for my SBAR.